Good evening, everybody. I hope you're well. So, this evening we're going back to the use of English exam and specifically part two of use of English. So, that's that one that we all love to hate, where you have gaps, but you've got nothing to fill it in. You just have to guess which word is the correct word. And people have a lot of difficulties with this task in particular. So, this evening, we are going to do a practice task together. But first, I want to share a little story with you, um, because basically, the problem that people have with this part of the exam, part two, but use of English in general, is it's always three things. Okay, it's one of these three things, or possibly more than one. So people always have problems either with technique, vocabulary, or grammar. Okay, but Cheryl, it can't be so simple. It can't just be that. It is. We love to complicate things. We love to overwhelm ourselves and get stressed about this. But the important thing is to keep things simple. It's either technique, vocabulary, or grammar. Those are the three things that we need to work on to get awesome marks in the use of English exam. And that's why so many of my students get full marks, the 210 in the use of English exam, because we just focus on those three things and that's it. Keep things simple. So, what are we going to do tonight? I'm going to show you a use of English task, and we are going to go through it together. Feel free to write your answers in the chat box as we go. Have a guess what you think they might be. And afterwards, we'll come back to those three things. And it should all become much clearer for you guys. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so you should see a use of English part 2 task in front of you there. So we've got 8 questions to complete, 1 point per question. Very, very important. If you look at the top of the screen, it says there, write your answers in capital letters. If you do not write them in capital letters, you will get a big fat 0 in the exam. So just make sure you do that. Write it in capital letters. So there's our first big tip for technique. Okay, so let's take a look at our options. So 0 is done for us. The truth is nobody really knows how language first began. Did we all start talking at around the same time of the manner in which our brains had begun to develop? Okay, so an important thing for me there is this preposition of. Okay, so this is helping me a lot. This is giving me a clue. Okay, so of. Wait. So I'm going to be thinking of something that goes with of. No, this is a question. So did we all start talking around the same time? It's kind of like, and this is like the question, and this is like the answer. No? So did we all start talking around the same time? Goes with of? Because, no? Because of the manner in which our brains have begun to develop. Because of. So did this happen? Because of this, no? As a result of this. Okay, so of gives us our main clue there, but also these two different ideas. Okay, so the answer here, number 9, is because of. Okay, the next one, if I go down to number 10, one recent theory is that humans beings have evolved in a way that we are programmed for language from the moment of birth. Okay. We've evolved in a way that. So this is kind of saying like we've evolved in a particular way, no? In a kind of way no? That we're programmed for language. So it's not in a particular way, in a kind of way. So this is an expression, okay? And if you've been doing lots of reading or working on our number 2, our vocabulary, you will know this expression. And this expression is for something to happen in such a way, okay? In such a way. So if something happens in such a way, let me type it here. So such we use plus nouns, okay? Such plus noun. Make this a bit bigger. Such plus noun, okay? And we use so plus adjective. This is also something that's tested a lot in the use of English exam. But I would learn this as an expression, no? For something to happen in such a way. Another expression with such that's very common is for something to happen to such an extent that. Okay? So in such a way or to such an extent that. So number 10 is vocabulary, is a fixed expression. Okay. Number 11 is also vocabulary. So if I see this at the beginning of a sentence, okay, with a comma. So usually this is some sort of linking word like however, in addition, furthermore, and when we put a comma afterwards. Okay. So if we know our linking words here, you should know this expression, right? And this expression here is in other words, no? Like another way to say something, in other words, okay? So this would be our answer here, yeah? In other words. So again, if you know this vocabulary, if you've learned your linkers, you will know this answer quite quickly. Okay, the next one. So we've done number 11. Number 12. Language will be programmed into the brain. Okay, language will be programmed into the brain. Okay, so if I see a verb here, okay, we've got the verb be here. Okay, so if we have the verb be, then I'm going to be thinking, okay, what comes before a verb in the infinitive form? No? So usually your brain should probably be thinking of modal verbs. No? Should be, may be, might be, could be. Yeah. So what works best with this? No. So the one that I would personally use would be language might or may, might well be or may well be programmed into our brain. But you could also use could here as well. Okay. Why is there well in the middle? Okay. So this is also a clue. If you know your grammar for modal verbs, you should be aware of this this usage of it. So using well to increase the possibility of something being true or something happening. Okay, so if I say language might be programmed into the brain, it's like maybe yes, maybe no. But if I say it might well be programmed, I'm more confident about that opinion. Okay, it might rain tonight. It might well rain tonight. Might well rain. I think there's a bit more of a possibility. Okay, so number 12 here is testing you on your grammar. So you need to know these modal verbs. You need to know this grammar structure, but you also need to know the technique for spotting that this is grammar that they're looking for. Okay, number 13. So I've got comma here. Okay, so comma. What happens here? So we've got, so language might well be programmed into the brain, but people still need the stimulus from others around them. So the comma is giving extra information. Okay. If I read this sentence, there's a word that's giving me a clue here. Or there's a couple of words that are giving me a clue to what might be in here. Okay. And I need to read the whole sentence to get this. No? So can anyone see what's helping me here? No? So the first thing that I'm seeing is the word but. Like this is a contrast word. The second thing I'm seeing is still, which we also use a lot with contrast. Okay, so language may well be programmed into the brain, but people still need stimulus from others around them. So this bit in the middle is wanting to say, but even though this is true, people still need stimulus from others around those. Okay. What word is still usually used with? Hmm? With this? In spite of this. In spite of this. But Cheryl, in spite of this is 3 words. Erica, what other contrast word can we use that's only 1 word? What could we use? Hmm? How do we say in spite of in 1 word? In spite of, we say despite. No? Despite this. Yeah. So this is the answer here, despite this. So you've got a clue here with still. Yeah, this is our big clue. But we need to read the whole sentence and see the 2 contrasts there. Okay. So this is testing us on grammar here. No? Knowing despite. Being able to see the clues. Yeah. Next one. Number 14. So from studies, we know that children are isolated from human contact. Okay. Okay, so if I just read that children are isolated from human contact, I might put like some children, many children, no, a few children. No, I might be thinking of quantifiers of how many children. Okay. But remember, generally, that's not going to be an answer. This be technique. That's not going to be an answer because there's too many possibilities. So let's read the whole sentence before we come to a conclusion about what the answer might be here. So from studies, we know that children are isolated from human contact and have not learned to construct sentences before they are 10. Important here, comma, it is doubtful they will ever do so. Comma, it is doubtful they will ever do so. Yeah, so we've got, after the comma, we've got a future simple here. Yeah. In the first part, we've got a present tense. Present tense, comma, future tense. What kind of structure, what kind of grammar structure do we use with present tense and then a comma and then a future tense? This structure is a conditional. No? Exactly, Alida. We need the conditional. Yeah. So we know that if children are isolated, it is doubtful they will ever do so to construct the sentences. We could use if or some words that replace if. So if children are isolated or when children are isolated would work as well here. If or when. Okay. So this is grammar. This is, again, do we know the technique to spot the grammar here? Okay. Tiomzi, you were saying, can we put those? No, this would be the same as the problem with like some, many, these children, those children. No? And if we have these or those children, it would be children that we've mentioned earlier on in the text or the line before. Yeah, but we haven't mentioned children before, so we're not going to use these or those. Okay, so we need to be able to spot, to see the grammar. We need to know the techniques for spotting and seeing the grammar. Okay. Number 15, we've got this comma again. Yeah. So usually this is, so adding information to the sentence. So it's probably going to be some sort of fixed expression or something. So this research shows that language is a social activity, not something invented, isolation. Okay. So here, this isn't a conditional here, no? We've got the that on the other side. The research shows that, okay? So don't confuse this with a conditional here, okay? This is an expression. If else, okay? So here the research shows, so this expression is like, if it maybe only shows this. So the research shows if nothing else, that language is a social activity. So it's saying like, perhaps this is the only thing it shows. Like it might not show anything else, but maybe it shows this, if nothing else. Okay. Or you could say if little else, less commonly. Okay. But this you have to learn it as a fixed expression. Okay. So if nothing else, a fixed expression. And our final one there, invented. So invented has fixed prepositions that go with it. Probably the one that you hear the most, and you might jump to this conclusion, is invented by. No, because we're usually talking about like an invention and the person who invented it. No. So, and in the passive structure, no? The light bulb was invented by, the electricity was invented by, so was invented by. My mind has gone blank here. I'm like, oh God, I can't think of the name of any inventor. But normally we think of this, invented by. But isolation, this is not a person, no? If you said invented by, isolation, I'd be like, hello, isolation, nice to meet you. So it's not going to be invented by. So if you do something isolation, like by yourself, we do something in isolation. Yeah. So it's invented in isolation. Yeah. So isolation goes more, so the preposition here, in, goes more with isolation than it does with invented. So this one is a fixed preposition, yeah? Which is the most common answer in this part of the exam is prepositions. So we really want to get good and spend some time, vocabulary, learning our fixed prepositional phrases. Yeah. Sandy, you have a question. Could be if anything else. So I think you're talking about number 15 here. No? So this research shows if anything else. So this is not a fixed phrase. No? So the fixed phrase is if nothing else or if little else. Okay. So if anything else doesn't make sense as this fixed expression with this meaning of like, if we only learn this. No. So fixed expression. So no, we can't use if anything else. That's why they're testing you on these things. They like to test you here on grammar or phrasal verbs and fixed expressions, particularly fixed expressions with prepositions, because there's usually only one answer for these. So this is marked by a computer, guys. So they don't want something that could be like 20 different answers. They're going to be testing you on things that can only be like one answer or possibly two answers. So that the computer can check it. No, computer can't check 100 different answers. Okay, so think grammar or prepositional phrases, phrasal verbs, fixed expressions, things like this. Okay. Okay. So if we come back to what I was saying earlier, Okay. So the most common problems that people have with this part of the exam are with technique, vocabulary, and grammar. Okay. So if I look at the answers to, oh, I've moved this. Let me move it down here. If we look at the answers to this, okay, so our answers. So we had because of. Okay, so this is knowing the preposition that goes with because. No, because of. No? Number 10. So this is knowing the fixed expression in such a way. We also need to know the grammar of so and such to give us a helping hand here. But this is a fixed expression. So this is vocabulary. Number 11 is vocabulary. Do I know this linking word? Number 12, may well be, might well be. This is grammar. Do I know my modal verbs? No. Number 13, we've got grammar with despite, with contrasts. Do I know the words that are connected to contrast words, the magic words that help us? No. Number 14 is grammar. Can I see these conditionals here? Do I know how to look for a conditional? Yeah. Number 15, if nothing else, this is a fixed expression. Do I know this fixed expression? Number 16 is fixed preposition. Do I know this? Okay, so it's grammar and vocabulary. The technique, where does that come in? The technique is being able to spot these things. The technique is being able to think, is this grammar or vocabulary? Okay, if it's grammar, what clues do I have to help me with that? If it's vocabulary, okay, what expressions do I know that might go at the beginning of a sentence, for example, or that might link something together? Okay, so if you know these things, technique, vocabulary, and grammar, it's going to help you and make your life much more simple when you're doing this part of the exam. Not just this part, any part of the exam. Okay, so use of English part 2, 3, 4, it's the same thing. Even reading, writing, listening, speaking, it's all the same thing. Okay, do you know the technique, the vocabulary, and the grammar? Yeah. I hope that helps you. If you want to go deeper into this and look at the exact technique, if you want to look at the most common fixed expressions and phrasal verbs and all the kind of C1 advanced grammar that comes up in the exam, I've left a link to the Use of English Challenge under this training video where you can practice these on a much, much more deeper level than we've been doing today. But yeah, that's us for this evening. If you have any questions, let me know. And I will see you guys next Wednesday at the same time at 8 o'clock, where we will cover another advanced English topic. Okay? Good night, everyone. Take care. Have a good one.